Alright, hello everyone, it is Mystic Juicer back with some more Yomi action, and we have Flagrant Angles versus MR in 19xx action. I think this is a winner's side match. Actually, no, I think this is loser side. Yes, this is loser side. So, an elimination match. We'll see if MR goes for Grave. Flagrant Angles is very likely to be playing Quince. Oh, MR is switching to BBB. So this is a very tough matchup for Quince, or it can be, unless his unless his deck delivers in a pretty major way. Quince has a lot of the same troubles that grapplers kind of have against BBB, which is that once he's put at range, he only really has Ace as an answer to BBB's Queen, which deals an absurd amount of block damage. And he doesn't have any answers to BBB normals. So that can be really tough to deal with. In the neutral and in range, he does have a lot of dodges, but again, that is fairly expensive and particularly difficult for a card-hungry character like Quince to deal with. So he's got to spend a lot of fuel to keep himself out of range because his normals aren't all that great, and he's got to spend a lot of fuel at range to escape from range. So he's typically going to be dodging his way out of range. He's typically going to be dodging his way out of range, or unless he duffs a king throw. Ooh, goes for a pretty classic mix-up there. Gets duffed by Cogshot. MR going to take the knockdown here. So this can be a kind of tricky mix-up. MR could choose to play a 2 attack or a 7 attack for really big damage on knockdown. But Flagrant Angles does have a known Jack in hand, so he can just wake up Jack if he wants to. Yep, and MR going to block City. So MR building up a bit of a hand. The other difficult thing for Quince to deal with is if he does too much attacking to defend himself from being put to range in the neutral game, BBB is going to build up a really big hand, and once he does, he's able to convert into very damage efficient aces and again the dominant speed attack in the matchup with 0.2 speed AA for 21 damage. Things that Quince does have going for him, again, a lot of dodges, so that's good. Gets scooped by the 7th throw here. And he does do fairly good damage off of, say, his raw queen or dodge into queen. His throws can be quite powerful. So he has some, card efficient damage that he can call on, but it is going to mean that if he's playing very card efficiently, he's going to be playing a much slower game. So picks up the 4 there rather than the 8 because dodges are much more important, so he's going to want them as much as possible. This is a fairly good split. Getting the 7th throw, yeah, you want the... Splitting it that way would indicate to me that he has a fair number of dodges in hand already. Or he's convinced if he puts the 7 and the ace together, he's obviously going to get the dodge queen and the 5. Which I think you'd probably still be happier to get. But I'm not exactly sure. It depends a little bit on his hand composition. If he already has dodges, that makes sense. Ooh, nice scoop with the 7th throw here. BBB does notably have the dominant throws as well. They don't deal a tremendous amount of damage. His really devastating combo off of a throw is going to be throw into queen pump pump for 22, which is, nothing to sneeze at, but it's not absurd. Actually, I want to see, what is his single ace speed? Single ace speed is 1.4, which does get beaten by Consent of the Governed, so at least Quince has that going for him. And spins what? Spins a jack. Okay. So again, this should put MR in a spot where he wants to play defensively. Yeah, he can relatively safely go to block here. And Flagrant Angles chooses to spin here, denying the chip damage, and denying MR an additional draw, and keeping himself basically having a card neutral reveal there. He's got a 9-card hand, so he's at an effective playing hand size for Quince. 61 damage off of 9 cards is a bit of a stretch, so unlikely he's going to be able to navigate this without getting put to range. All right, single ace coming out. Getting that chip does allow him a setup here. So I think very likely that we see a attack dodge setup. A normal if he's got it, just in case MR goes for some sort of a throw. Or a slower normal. It's always a possibility. BBB does not have tremendously fast normals. They are 0.8 speed, just like Quince. He has already spent 2 2s, so it's not inconceivably he might go for a 3 or a 4 here. Okay, Flagrant Angles locking in his choice. Okay, goes for the throw dodge, forcing MR to play a throw into that mix-up. So you can see the pressure this is putting on his hand, and yeah, unfortunately dodging into a 6 is not tremendously card efficient there. That was 3 cards for 6 damage. Okay, does get the spin going though, that is good. Seen 1 7 throw come out. King throw notably does not lose, oh actually no, it does lose to king throw for BBB, so he can put out the king throw here, set Quince to range, get a really strong advantage time situation. But knowing that, Flagrant Angles may choose to poke out a throw here. Ooh, no, plays it honestly. And MR trying to undercut a poke. Yeah, and I like the decision from MR. It makes a lot of sense, actually, in retrospect. He's thinking, okay, what are the 2 possibilities? He has no damage in hand, right? I know that because he just dodged into a 6. So why don't I just play this 3? The worst thing that happens is he dodges into another 6, or he found like a card that he can use to deal me damage. I don't really mind, so make that happen. Ooh, there we go. Makes the mix-up, makes the adjustment. Gets the poke, and notably gets the draw. That's very important. Goes right into the jack, gets that 12 damage. Should keep, I think he had a king still. King of hearts. King of spades, okay. Yeah, okay, that's the card he revealed, okay. Taxing attacks, I like this. The reason I like this is MR has already shown he wants to poke. He's willing to poke into this mix-up. This can set up a nice 7 throw, which is a pretty sneaky play here if we see it. Ooh, actually forces MR to go to block, and he gets the best possible mix-up, which is getting to throw and picking up a card for it. Okay. Flagrant Angles making it happen here. MR should still have ace ace. Wow, 3rd king. The draws on this man, and that's basically what's got to happen. Can be very, very tough to win this matchup if your deck is not on your side. If you're drawing, no dodges, or drawing all your normals and a bunch of throws, not getting your face cards, can be very tricky. Okay. Plays it safe. Flagrant angles, winning out of honesty here. Okay, MR says, enough. I don't want to be in this mix-up anymore. Please stop. Bamboozled. 25 hit points to 64, but BBB is definitely not out of this. As soon as he sets range, he's going to have a real opportunity to capitalize. Things can go very, very wrong very, very quickly for Quince if that happens. There's the jack, undercuts a 3. Could have been worse. Are we going to see an ace come out? No. Maintains the ace. So very likely only has 2 aces, has 1 or 2 aces in hand. Got about half of his deck cycled through, and he has powered up once, I believe. Oh, but there is an ace in the discard, so okay. Oh, he might not have any aces. Okay, he had one more ace. Flagrant angles, going for the throw there, wake up throw, taking the risks. It's one of the things I really like about Flagrant Angles. It's one of the things that makes him very, very scary to play is he has like strong decision making, and he can play. He alternates really well between a really, really aggressive style of play and an incredibly defensive style of play. Ooh, that's what you don't want to see. Got picked up by the king, and it's particularly difficult to deal with, I feel, as a grappler player. I mean, I'm the only one who can speak to my experience playing against Flagrant Angles. But when I have played against him, it can be very, very challenging, right? You want to, if he's being very, very aggressive, you want to play very safe. You want to turtle up. You want to throw very rarely and very selectively, and then all of a sudden he makes this change and, you know, blocks 7 turns in a row, and you're just terrified to ever push the throw button, because you know he has been playing so aggressively, so it can be very scary. And just like that, MR has evened this game up. Going with some dodges. Going with dodges early signals to me that he's worried that Flagrant Angles is just going to gold burst his way out of this. And unfortunately, ooh, I really hope that's not real. Ooh. Okay, maybe that means he has a second. I like that play if he has the second joker in hand. If he's got the second joker, this means that this next joker is going to be pretty much guaranteed. It's like, okay, you've spent the 1 joker. You have a 6-card hand. So very likely I can get aggressive here. Ooh, wow, okay. I would have had my gold burst absolutely dodged there. Unfortunately, it looks like, yeah, keeps bluffing. Unfortunately, he's 4-card hand. Really tough here. MR is just not taking any risks at all now that he's got range. He's got 3 dots. He basically played 3 10s in a row. He's got a fair chunk of his deck in his hand, so he could have, say, what? The odds are good that he has maybe another dodge, 1 more. Ooh! Flagrant Angles getting out, but again, what does he get out with? Just a big normal. Now he's got a 3-card hand against MR's 11. He does not get to spin because it did not deal any damage because he had to, you know, remove range. Very scary situation here. MR could go for a throw. Throws are very scary right now. 7 throw in particular. He's only spent 2 7s. Again, a lot of his deck in his hand right now. Tough stuff. Not a lot of dodges, I think, left. Ooh, and gets picked up. This could be curtains. That is it. Game 1 goes to MR. Flagrant Angles making it happen for a while there, but then that's the true sign of a matchup, of a bad matchup. Got to play absolutely correct throughout the entire thing. And all of that early advantage, I think he was up like 40 hit points or something at some point, and that just disappeared after 3 turns at range. Ooh, okay. Flagrant Angles going to Gwen. So this is going to, this is basically a push. This is a signal, okay. I was stuck in a bad matchup. Now I'm going to oppress you with buttons. I've got my 2s, I've got my kings, I've got queens and single ace, and you are going to have to respect the rhythm of my game, is what Flagrant Angles wants to say right now. So what happens to this matchup at range? Notably, Gwen does have 10 blocks, so she can block regular queen at range. She can prevent that 13 damage chip, which can be so oppressive. Her normals are very good. BBB is probably going to want to play more normals and dodges at range than he typically would in other matchups, because Gwen does have a speed hole between 0 and 1.4, the speed of her king. Basically, 1.0, if you play a 1.0 attack, the only thing you have to worry about with Gwen is a queen. And queens typically don't deal all that much damage. If you're at range, it's not going to be terribly worrisome anyway. Ooh, the max damage punish to the classic dodge into king or raw king mix-up. 52 hit points remain for our BBB. And Flagrant Angles has not yet been touched. 81 hit points on the board, 7 card hand. MR powering up for a single ace. Single ace is pretty good. Even better if you've got double ace. 0.2 speed is quite devastating. It's going to push Gwen to be playing queens or dodging. This is certainly not over. Again, Gwen is slowly dying all the time. So there are mix-up situations. Nice queen there. So kind of obvious queen play from Flagrant Angles. The 7th row from MR might just be to option select that. It's like, okay, well, if you have a queen, you're going to play it. But if you do, I take 10. I don't really care because it's just 10. And if I get you with the throw, then that's good damage for me as well. Although MR is at 6 cards in hand. So even BBB, who is very card efficient with his normals, is going to be in a spot where his options are kind of constrained. So we know that one of those cards is an ace. So we've got 5 mystery cards. Blocks the single A, gets a little bit of hit points back. I don't mind that. He doesn't get a draw off the 10, which is a little unfortunate. Or actually, I don't know if he does. I don't think you get the draw off of the 10. Yeah, not sure. Ooh, had the other one gets undercut by 1.2 speed king. Sorry, misspoke earlier. Doesn't have a tremendous hand size, so this could be like an awkward position that he sets himself up with. Or he could just have, you could just want to go in. 14 hit points remain. If he has a single queen in hand, Flagrant Angles is going to be in a very good spot to close this out. Still essentially working on a perfect here. Okay, 4-card hand. Does MR get aggressive? He does. This is where the scariness can begin. Flagrant Angles perhaps going for a counter throw there. Fortunately gets duffed. Played a little bit too aggressive, maybe. Yes, the tummy has been touched. You don't want that to happen. That is what you want to avoid. And now it all depends on what MR's got in his hand and what Flagrant Angles is willing to play into this particular situation. So again, Normals, very effective here. Normals are going to mean that Flagrant Angles has to dodge. He has to play queen. He could always block his way out. That is a possibility. Depends a little bit on what he thinks, what read he has on what's in MR's hand. So he bet on queen or normal, and unfortunately gets thrown there with the king. So MR indicating he's got the king, applying pressure by powering up for ace, so he's got a cross-up setup here. I would not be surprised if we see a dodge from MR in this position. Ooh, block, block. MR has to allow Gwen out of range prison. And we are back in the neutral. 64 hit points to 14. 8-card hand for Gwen. So nicely navigated out of that very scary situation. MR not willing to go for 2 king throws in a row and not willing to dodge or unable to dodge. So may not have that card or that option in his hand. Okay, does have single ace though, and that does shut down the 2. MR making plays just to stay alive. It's like, oh, please, please stop pushing buttons at me. Wow. So, okay. I mean, the read that Flagrant Angles had was correct. There were, in fact, a few queens in MR's hand. Now has to deal with double ace mix-up. Play that card very quickly. So, is it a dodge or is it a queen? Or did he go for some crazy haymaker throw? It was the dodge. He gets put back to range. King is removed from MR's hand. That is 2 kings down, 3 queens in the discard. So if I am Flagrant Angles, I am probably making a decision like, okay, so I'm going to assume that he does not have any more face cards. Which, looking at it with that particular play, is a little bit less likely now. Because that ability does boost all of your face cards, has no effect on anything else. So unblockable queens this turn, that's scary. Cross-up potential this turn. 11 damage throw, also not bad. Just like that, evening up the gap here, closing the distance between these 2 hit point totals. 28 hit points is not a lot of health for Gwen. So we have a known king, known aces, 3 known aces, and then 3 mystery cards remaining in MR's hand. He has not recently been playing as though he had a dodge. Ooh, gets under the ace. MR unwilling or unable to play a normal there, which I'm very surprised about. So what do you do with that information? Okay, you have king, ace, ace, and no normals. So what is in your hand? Just a bunch of throws and blocks? Do we have a dodge or 2? That's the thing that Flagrant Angles is probably going to be the most worried about. Do you have a dodge? Very scary to throw BBB. If he gets put to range one more time, he may not be able to get out. Oh my god. The biggest possible throw call out. And MR avoids that. Does he have the 4th ace? Is that actually known information? Okay. Didn't have it or was unwilling to play it. No jokers yet spent on Flagrant Angles' side. And it's really not going to matter. This is going to come down to this next combat or 2. Yeah, there we go. Got to power up. We've got to break this potential checkmate. He has exactly 2 turns to find lethal here. If MR has found 2 jokers, he can be in a very safe spot. Now, he has played the aces, so that does allow a gap. If he had both aces in hand and 2 jokers, that would pretty much be checkmate. You could guarantee play the double ace. I guess you could just, oh yeah, no, you can't block because there's the potential of triple ace super. Ooh, scary moment on both sides, but flagrant angles is probably going to be the one that's sweating the most. What kind of player is MR? Is he going to go for the gutsy throw here? You have to duff. Can you get away with the dodge? Okay. Makes the first correct read. Immediate face down. Chilbane setup. Okay. Okay, goes for lethal off the Chilbane. I like that. Doesn't spend any throws, doesn't spend any aces. That is 1 ace down. Ooh, that's a lot of dodges in the discard. That is 2 known aces now in hand. Got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 8 dodges left. So very likely that he has a dodge if he needs it. He can't win off of queen. All of his moves are 2 speed slower, so he could get under with a 2. Ooh, just goes for the ace plays. MR sticks out a jack and is going to go up 2 games to 1 in this set. But that was a very close match. Unfortunately, the beginning of the end was that that throw play into 3, which allowed MR to get range, rebuild his hand. That was the turning point in the set. Oh, wow. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. Yeah, so that was a checkmate. There was no escape for flagrant angles there. There is nothing he could have done. No attack he could have played that would have got him out of that situation. Ooh, going to Valerie now. Interesting. So this is, I feel like this is a tougher matchup than a lot of people initially give it credit for. You are, as Valerie, you are absolutely playing a control matchup here. You are going to be losing in the early and mid game, and then you are hoping to close things out with massive damage in the mid to late game. So the reason for that being, Valerie has to build a hand. She has to get to an effective operating hand of like 10, 11, 12 cards. Once she does that, she's scary. But typically, the thing she has to deal with in the early game is throws, right? She has to protect herself from her opponent getting aggressive with throws, punishing her, her desire to build a hand using blocks. And then she's got to mix in, some single ace. She's got to mix in a couple of normals just to poke out throws and build a hand through normal draw. And then eventually she can be effective, and then she controls space really, really well. But here she's got to do all of that build up against a character who can beat blocks with attacks, with normal attacks, setting up an advantage situation. Now she does have single ace at neutral, or at range, which is quite good. Deals 10 damage, draws her a card. But this does allow BBB as well to turtle up and get a lot of mileage off of dodges if he wants to. Once they return to the neutral after this range play, BBB is very likely going to be able to power up for aces, and his aces are the dominant speed attack in the matchup. And Valerie doesn't have tremendous dodge punishes, so she is likely going to need to tank a couple of double ace shots. And then she's got to deal with a character who has very effective throw punishes. Not because they deal a tremendous amount of damage, but because they set up his advantage state. So very tricky, very, very tricky. You basically have to be very correct. You got to be right a lot. and you have to save as much fuel for dodge punish as you really can. BBB is MR is very likely to be able to get away with a lot of effective blue bursts. That is one of Valerie's major weaknesses, is that blue bursts are incredibly strong against her. Okay, Flagrant Angles does get out, gets the dodge off, spends a king, which is fine. He's on an 11 card hand. It's really normals he wants. He wants normals and 10s right now. MR going for a overdrive turn. So again, we've got dodge into king or raw king is the kind of standard setup. Valerie can option select. She has the dominant speed throws, but that means Robo Headbutt is very scary. There we go. The 3 attack, essentially a poor man's Robo Headbutt. He didn't have the Robo Headbutt, so go with that instead. Could be saving the 7s for throws as well. Might not have a tremendous amount of damage in hand. It's difficult to read BBB. Okay, we have a cross-up setup here. Does MR have double ace? Is he willing to play Gold Burst here? He does have double ace, so there we go. Flagrant Angles. Takes 21, removes the dominant speed attack from MR's hand. Now he has a window of time where he can be aggressive. So if MR is playing scared, he's going to be blocking a lot here. Got the 10 card Valerie. That is a scary range for her attacks, not so much her throws. If she does throw, she's going to go down a lot of cards. So she could set up, Flagrant Angles might have a window to set up a throw into nothing. Ooh, might have to spend a 10 here, does. Yeah, so again, he's already spent 2 cards just to win combat. He can go in with AA if he has it. He's already spent the 1, so it's unlikely he's got that. I think the smartest thing for him to do is probably just to let this go. Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate. You leave some damage on the table, but you maintain your hand size, and you have another setup here. So again, ace-ace is now gone. So he has the opportunity to go for a cross-up here. The only way MR really beats this is by going for a Gold Burst play or blocking correctly if it's a cross-up attempt. Unlikely to see a king because, again, Valerie's not at that hand size where a king into a big combo is going to allow her to maintain speed. So probably a normal cross-up. There's really no reason for her to block or dodge here given MR's hand. Ooh, blocks correctly. Unfortunate. Yeah, so 1, 2, and a 4 went for the odd block. We are back in neutral. MR has a 7-card hand after overdriving again. Again, scary setup here. Does Flagrant Angles go for the throw? Ooh, undercuts the big normal. And we're going to get some bold strokes here. Hopefully that is a bold strokes for damage and not for additional normals that he needs. So expect this to be real. MR, I mean, it could be a joker, but you know, this is a lot of damage anyway. Yeah, that's an 8, that's a 6. Ooh, doesn't put on another normal. That worries me a little bit. It does get 18 damage. Does end up with 10 cards, known single ace in hand, that's all good. MR still on 6 cards. MR is essentially playing a block attack range right now. Basically block attacks, poke out throws. Does find single ace. That is not the worst combat to have for flagrant angles. We now have 3 aces in the discard. He's already spent 2 9s. He could have used the 9s in neutral to power up his long arm, to essentially make his long arms DPs. So that's another way of shutting down or attacking the weakness that Valerie has, which is she doesn't get a tremendous she only gets a tremendous damage payoff off of an attack or throw starter. So she's kind of Gwen-like in that way, in that you can like put pressure on her to dodge a lot more, because she doesn't get a tremendous payoff off of dodge. Okay, nice single ace, blows up this queen. MR playing a lot of anti-throw right now. Taking a bet on flagrant angles being aggressive. After that Gwen game, I can't really blame him. He's seen that he's making a read on the fact that flagrant angles throws maybe a little bit more than he should. And it has paid off for him in the first, or in the second game at least. I can't remember exactly how the first one went at this point. Okay, there we go. Uses those normals to try to bait an undercut to get a block. 12 card Valerie. This is where Valerie, right now we're in a Valerie advantaged state. It mostly has to do with the fact that MR has spent these aces and has not yet powered up for 1 or 2 of them. So the best he can do is a 1.4 speed attack. If he plays the overdrive jack, that's going to be telegraphed. Ooh, do we have a 10? Yes, we do. Okay, that could have been disastrous. Flagrant angles gets in with the 3, has another bold strokes. So that is 4 damage already. No known aces in hand, I believe, at this point. And really no reason to respect this. You've got to find your damage. It wasn't last time. Ooh, gets it right. Does spend a fair amount of resources there, but does go back up to 12 cards on this next turn. MR continues to be at 7. Hit points are fairly even. So nice call by Flagrant Angles, making the right read in that situation. That is 1 joker down. Yeah, 1 joker down, 3 aces in the discard. But a lot of 10 spent. Okay, has 1 more. Does get in, and this next face down is not going to be respected. That is a guarantee. Yeah, big normals coming out. Big damage. That is going to leave MR at 3 hit points. Single ace chip will do it. How many dodges yet spent? Only, okay, 2 out of 8. But this is looking very, very winnable for Flagrant Angles through chip alone. The 3 kings gone, but we don't really care about kings. We care about aces, we care about queens, and to a certain extent we care about jacks. Yeah, actually jacks also deal 3 chip. My god. That's pretty disgusting. So Valerie with a lot of chip potential here. MR has to be right a lot. Now, he can still set up a situation where he gold bursts into aces and then makes something happen and hits with those aces a couple of times. But it's looking scary. There we go. So MR counting on the fact that Flagrant Angles would perhaps play around the potential for gold burst, which is really the only way out he had. He might not even have the dodges. So if you're beaten by just raw attack, why not go for the king, try to shut things down? Okay, Valerie versus Grave. Okay. So this matchup pretty much just comes down to True Power of Storms. If Grave hits True Power of Storms, then Valerie loses. If he doesn't hit True Power of Storms, Valerie has a chance. Grave also has, just like against Gwen, he has a similar potential to play single ace and queen to basically shut down all of her aggressive range, her attack or throw starters. Yeah. The one thing Valerie does have going for her is she has pretty explosive damage. So if she catches Grave without a Joker in hand and makes the right call, then she can really take an advantage situation. She can really pile on the hurt. But oh, and she also has her queen. Queen is 0.2 speed, so it's going to lose to Grave's queen. But it does at least beat True Power of Storms. So she has that option. So she can play in the mid game. She can play fairly safe by just playing queen backed up by Joker. Okay, a lot of early damage here from MR. Playing his standard style of Grave, which is just reliable damage off of every combat reveal. Normal into queen. Play kings in neutral into anything. Throw into jack. All that good stuff. All those powerful punishing combos. Okay, block, block. Flagrant angles. Going into that defensive posture can be so hard to predict. Working his way up to a larger hand size. It's kind of hard to tell who block favors in this matchup, to be quite honest. I mean, a high hand size Grave means more True Power of Storms access, which is definitely bad for Valerie, but she needs a hand size to operate. So actually, probably, given that, probably it's advantage for Grave. Okay, getting a lot of mileage off of these normal throws. Ooh, that's a scary martial mastery this early in the game. All right, we got queens and aces. 2 blocks. So I am smelling a queen from MR here. If he's feeling cheeky, I would probably just go for a cross-up. If you get punched out by single ace, it's like, okay, sure, fine. But there's still not enough normals in that hand to do the ace-ace loop. So if Valerie hits with 4 normal attacks and then tacks AA on, she basically gets the ace-ace back. Oh, goes for the throw. Wow. Flagrant Angles does the smart thing. Just level 1. I'm going to ace you now. I do not want to be crossed up. I will take the queen damage if you have it. MR powering up for the ace he's played. Scary situations now. So we know all of Flagrant Angles' hand. So the layer 1 play is for MR to dodge or play queen. Yeah. And Flagrant Angles trying to chase down the dodge. Takes 10, 41 hit points now. Lethal range for True Power of Storms. MR also knows that Flagrant Angles does not have the Joker in hand as of 2 turns ago. So there have been, I think, 3 draws since then. Draw off the ace, draw at the beginning of that turn. Oh, no, sorry. Draw off the ace, draw at the beginning of the next turn, and then a draw for this turn. So a 3 in like 42 chance. So dodge is very tempting here. Ooh, just hits him with the single ace. Yeah, he's got enough of a life lead. He doesn't really need to hit with True Power of Storms. He can just play single ace games. And it's going to make it very difficult for Flagrant Angles to mount any kind of offense. The tragedy of Valerie. Yeah, you as Valerie, when confronted with a character that has such card efficient sources of damage that can shut down her aggressive range, it can be very, very difficult to play. MR is essentially on block ace as a range, and then if he ever finds a queen, then he's got that going for him as well. Now he is putting himself in a situation where if he ever gets like a little bit too aggressive with the aces or makes a mistake, he could find himself in a position that is very, very uncomfortable. Yeah, there we go. Mixing up the aces with some blocks. Probably going to reveal ace here. Queen if he has it. Okay. That was the second known ace that was in Flagrant Angles' hand. Still has 2 aces known and a couple of dodges. But this is looking like a very advantageous situation for MR. Cheeky throw from MR? No, goes for the dodge. Now Flagrant Angles is essentially stuck on the back foot until MR gets rid of a bunch of cards in his hand. Okay, found the Joker. That's good. Unfortunately, he's in a spot where just getting hit by running into single ace a couple of times is going to close things out. Runs into queen. Yeah, this is looking very Gwen-like, and unfortunately, unlike Gwen, Valerie has even less to threaten off of dodge. She really only has ace-ace for 16, which is really not all that much, or jack pump-pump for 21. So as Valerie, in these kinds of matchups, you really have to, either you get incredibly lucky with your draws in the early game and you have surprising burst that your opponent is not expecting, or you get a lot of mileage off of your dodges in the late game when they're trying to punish you for trying to play a balanced or even an aggressive stance. Yeah, it is looking very dire for Flagrant Angles here. It's going to be a tricky play on the next character select screen. As MR is going to be able to counterpick 3 times, and Flagrant Angles is going to be stuck on whatever character he picks here. So what will Flagrant Angles choose to do? I think maybe Argagarg will be a good pick. Oh, okay, goes immediately to Quince. So Quince versus Grave is fairly good for Quince. The only issue is that we've already seen that MR has a BBB as a pick, and he played that matchup quite well. Now, Flagrant Angles did have an opportunity there. It wasn't completely one-sided, but it is pretty scary. Okay, disables the jack. That's fine. Take 8 damage. At least we didn't take 11 or 14 or 17. Ooh. Getting these slow throws tossed. Okay, thrown to nothing is fine. Expect MR to go for a cross up here. He has gone for something like that in the past. Wake up Jack. Nice. Cross up defense. Does get the spinner going. Good trade as well. Evens up the life totals a little bit. Okay, has queen for the spin. How will MR react? Yeah, taxing attacks. That's the obvious play here. So MR can play relatively safely around this just by blocking. It denies the draws for sure, and it denies everything except if he's playing the queen, the honest queen. He could get around the obvious dodge. Okay, there we go. Flagrant angles gets the honest queen. He is going to at least be able to deal a little bit of damage here. Pumps once or twice? Twice. Okay, goes down to 4 cards. Does even up the life totals. Takes a little bit of a life lead. Has another queen. Okay, this is actually quite good in this position. Okay, and has the 2. Okay, good stuff, good stuff. I was about to say, this can be good in this position just because if you've got the queen, the thing that beats the queen is just attacks. So you're at a low hand, you've got the queen to pressure attacks from. You can either play the queen to chase blocks if you think they're going to do that, or you can just block and then you get, you know, the block draw. Okay, gives him the 10 and the joker. Does deny him plenty of fuel though. 2 jacks and a queen going into the discard. Yeah, that was an absolutely bomb flip. Tough to say what the right call was there. Okay, there we go. The block setup. 6-card hand versus 8-card grave. Not a bad spot. Has a known queen in hand, so throw deathing is very much on the table. Flagrant angles has the stones to do it. See how MR reacts to this setup, or to this game state, I should say. Oh, he knows that Flagrant Angles has a joker. Single ace comes out, trying to catch perhaps a middling normal, a non-2 normal. Okay, we see the 3. So this is a very interesting situation, actually. So MR has this known 3, right, that he could play. So Flagrant Angles could choose to just play around the 3. Just everyone knows everything about everybody's hand. Oh, right. Okay, so Flagrant Angles choosing to reel the queen instead of going for a 2-card setup. That makes a lot of sense to me. Wow. So expect the dodge to be played? God. I mean, MR could just choose to go in with a queen here. You can go in with a queen. Jack is actually just fine as well. It beats everything except AA. AA only deals 16 damage. You do give up a bit of a life lead, but you have the larger hand size. So I think just playing an attack is very safe here. Anything that doesn't lose straight out to single ace, that's the only thing you're really kind of worried about. Nice block from Flagrant Angles. MR does get 2 normal draws off of that 3, so that's not bad either. So maybe in that situation, given the 3 had been revealed, it might have been a good idea for Flagrant Angles to just go for single ace. Would have won outright. This does get more value in his hand, and particularly he's looking for dodges and throws. That hand had neither of those things. It's got 2 jokers, which is really good. He's not going to lose to True Power Storms this game, unless things go devastatingly wrong. But yeah, that is not a hand that can get particularly aggressive. Yeah, Flagrant Angles just blocking. Going, yeah, I need more resources. You're not really pressuring me. I've got a ton of stuff that absolutely obliterates throws, so maybe I can get away with some blocks here. Now, raw true power of storms from MR is going to be scary. That's the real way he's going to land it in this situation. Ooh, we found ourselves a throw, gentlemen. It's toss time. Oh, does not attack the queen on that. Okay, interesting. I mean, his hand size is not huge, so I guess that makes sense. MR powering up for single ace. Now that potential for a hidden true power of storms is a lot less likely. Okay. Honest King is really, really safe here. Sure, he can get tossed into single ace, but that's not a tremendous amount of damage. Yeah, that's likely what's going to happen here. Now, do we see a cheeky face down? Cheeky face down can be quite good. No. Go ahead, deal the damage. MR obliges, evening up life totals exactly. Exactly the same hand sizes. Two known jokers in flagrant angles' hand. Got, what, two jokers, two aces, a queen, and some normals, some big normals. Okay, block, block. Everyone feeling a little too nervous to do anything. All right, consent of the governed confirmed. We've got 30 damage in our hands. Any jokers yet spent? No. No jokers spent on either side. MR threatening true power of storms. Flagrant angles. Just has to not get undercut by raw true power of storms, and he should be okay. That would require a hard defensive line, though. And MR can choose to... He has a lot of freedom to push buttons right now. Pressure of raw true power of storms is a lot. There we go. Gets scooped. Yeah, no face down, chooses to take the 19, and now MR is in a position where he may not even need true power of storms to land. Single aces, throws, and dodges into single aces are all going to be devastating. Oh my god. The tennis of throws. Flagrant angles, goes in, gets that damage he needs to start the spin. Does he have the king? He has the king. All right. We have a 3 8s and a 7 already spent for MR. This is where things get very dicey. Yeah, we're going to pick up more kings because we potentially have checkmates. Wow, we're going to pick up a lot of kings. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. The jack is a little bit more valuable than two normals. Okay, and chooses to give him the king and the jack. Interesting. So the jack sets up a situation, especially if Flagrant Angles gets knocked down, where Grave... Essentially, Quince will have the dominant speed attack with the jack play. There is no attack that can be played from a knockdown situation, or from any situation, that will beat the jack. So, a little bit surprised that he gave him that. Okay, plays the king honestly. He's going to get at least 9 damage for his troubles here. And no face down again. Big damage. Sets MR to 23. Within consent range. reveals the other king. He has played overwhelmingly honest this entire set with Quince. I think he lied once, got punished for it in the BBB game. Yeah, continues to play honestly. This is very likely to be king into ace. It's very likely to be a joker. But you definitely take the chance here. Yep. Yeah. All right. The curse is broken. Still have the threat of True Power of Storms here. He's going to know what the setup is. Are there any dodges? There is a 2 dodge. There is a 7 throw. And we have consent. So, tough mix-up for MR. If he's got the other Joker, he just plays a DP and Joker's behind it. How will it go? Wake up 7 throw is the scary secret option. Oh, just does it. Flagrant angles, counting on the fact that he had the dodge to scare him away. And unfortunately, MR just does it raw, wakes up with the True Power of Storms, and takes the set 4-1. Nicely played on his part. He will advance, and Flagrant Angles, unfortunately, his run through losers ends here. And that is it. So thank you for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed that set. I will see you all next time. Until then, enjoy yourself some Yomi. Cheers.